We've got the top 10 most likely ways to die on the trail
and how to avoid them
right now.
Hey, everybody, this is Derek, and with me today is the only man to ever make all of wildlife applaud just by getting past the first trailhead at the beginning of the trail. Carl Mandrioli is here in the house.
Getting past the first trailhead.
Just getting past it.
A couple steps.
Nobody thought you could do it.
One at a time.
Exactly. Yeah. Baby steps.
With me today is Derek Somerville. He's a man that once read about the dangers of backpacking, and then he gave up reading.
Oh, boy. Oh, geez. Whew. Moving on. Today, we have top 10.
Top 10 most likely ways to die on the trail.
Yeah.
And how to survive, really, right?
How are you going to survive?
Yeah.
And I'm curious how you're going to survive some of these. So.
And you know, our show is family friendly, so we're not going to get too graphic, but we are still talking about death, so consider that as you're listening.
We can still make it fun.
We can make it fun. We can make it safe. We can try to help people survive out there, but there is going to be some death references. And just kind of keep that in mind if you have kids or if you have, weak-minded people such as Derek in your car while you're driving.
Original.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I've got a Bible verse for the episode. This is Psalm 24:3. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. I predict you've heard that verse before, yeah?
A couple times.
Yeah.
Couple times.
All right. So do you have any fears when you walk through the valleys of the shadows of the mountains?
Oh, man. No, not really. I mean, I guess if it's fearless, just fearless. I mean, I guess it depends. Like if in general, no, but I think if I think when it's like thunder shower or there's creepy sounds, I think your mind tends to like go that direction of something super negative happening. So I think, I think we're all capable of going to that place. So I think it's good to, address it from time to time.
All right.
Keep us respectful of the outdoors.
Yeah.
Mother Nature.
So your answer is no, but yes.
No, in general.
No,
correct.
In general. Okay.
Unless Carl is throwing rocks at me.
I think most backpackers don't like have specific fears or things that they're concerned about. Maybe.
So what about you then? Are you just no fear?
I'm pretty no fear. I think I've gotten to the point of fear, that like panic mode, I think once in the backcountry, but that was still like year one. And it wasn't even on a backpacking trip. It was on the hiking trip. This is the story I told, all the way back in season 1 where I got stuck in Yosemite Falls and death was pretty imminent at that point.
Yeah.
If not for search and rescue. So I think that's the only time I can think of like actual fear where I'm like, I'm about to die.
That's fair.
But I think for people that haven't gone yet, the newbies out there, or people that just go solo, or maybe they've gone with groups and then they're about to go solo, I think that they have true fears or concerns in the backcountry. But strangely, I think what they're afraid of is not what the most common ways to die on the trail are. I think those things do not go together, right?
Right.
We're going to find out on this list, actually. So we got the top 10.
Yeah.
And so, I took this. I actually looked up different resources and tried to find kind of like a comprehensive list of most common ways to die. And the best one that kind of encompassed everything that was on the different resources I looked at was actually Backpacker Magazine, of all things.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
here we go then.
Got to give credit to Backpacker Magazine, even though I'm not a subscriber anymore, and I think that they've sold out.
For sure. They sold out. Yeah, for sure. Okay.
It's like a catalog now. It's not really a magazine.
Advertisements everywhere.
It is advertisements everywhere. Okay, so so we're going
to you want to start us? I'll start us off. Okay.
All right, number 10.
Number 10 way to die is ticks and mosquitoes. Yeah, you heard me say it. Every year, hundreds of people will fall victim to the illnesses created by these little pests. I had a few friends actually who contracted Lyme disease from ticks. I don't know if it was up from about being on the trail, but it was from mainly living in more rural areas. So kind of go hand in hand. But bugs. I mean, bugs are just, they carry all kinds of diseases and all kinds of things. So
I want to know about the people that have gotten Lyme disease. Well, first of all, they didn't die.
They didn't die, but their whole there was a pretty big.
Like, what part of the world are they in?
South.
When they got
in the south.
Okay.
And I want to say they were in a forest, but I think part of the norm of people that I've encountered growing up and friends would be like, we go outside and play out there, and then you come back home and mom would do like a tick check, like on the regular. And I'm like, a tick check? Like, I don't even know what that is out here in California. So, some of them got bit by ticks, and one one or two of them got Lyme disease, and so like their whole internal system, like they felt, all the symptoms of Lyme disease just hit them hard, and they couldn't figure it out for a while and all this other stuff. But it can be a pretty big game changer. Even if you're not going to maybe die from it, I think it can still severely affect you, your immune system, and all these other things about in your body that it can be really just uncomfortable and inhibiting.
We're not talking about uncomfortable and inhibiting.
We're talking about death.
Death. That's right. So, but this, people can legit die from this.
You get dengue, malaria.
Yeah. And I think I got a number one solution for this.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And this is go back about a year, March of last year, and listen to the episode we did with the Tick Terminator. He covers this.
Yep, he does.
Ad nauseum. So much it might actually tick you off.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Wow. Just lost a subscriber there. Yep.
So anyway, we did cover this. And so with the bugs, we talked about mosquitoes. We talked about specifically with mosquitoes, we talked about using the thermocell to kind of send them away when you're at camp. And then of course there's mosquito netting and the bug spray and all that stuff, the bug juice, the DEET. So I don't think we need to recover that because we covered that in episodes, but it is interesting that made the top 10 list is that it's the bugs. Yeah. But I think it's hard to know if it's top 10 specifically for backcountry, or like, is that when people are
in the
tracking
world,
them, or if it's just like when kids are going out and playing, like you're saying. So I don't know. I don't know if it's kind of hard to tell, but it is one of the most common ways. So number 10. All right.
Number 9. What do you got?
Number 9 is still not super common. It's the 9th most common, and that is death due to flash floods.
Whoa.
Okay.
Whoa.
I think people get concerned, especially going, to Utah, Slot Canyons, Arizona, all those places are like, hey, we're now at risk. And you know what? You are
at risk,
but it's still very, very rare. Very rare. And the reason why it's even in the top 10 is not because that it's, more common than a lot of other things. It's because that when flash floods do take people out, it's usually not just one, it's usually a group of people. So it's like a group death.
Yeah. If you're going with people that you love.
Usually.
Going out with your friends.
Right.
I'd go out in a flash flood with you. You do that?
You'd like try to survive one?
Well, if I'm going to go, I mean, if you were there, let's go together.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
You're the guy that's going to grab the rope, throw the grappling hook up onto the ledge and be like, Carl, just grab my hand.
I'd have to, because you don't really throw that far. So I'd have to throw the grappling hook. Yeah.
Okay.
I actually was, when I was going down the Grand Canyon river rafting, there was a flash flood one day. Okay. And it was sunshine and rainbows. And then within minutes, it seemed like it was just downpour, get the ponchos on. Everything's wet. Right. The river's going crazy. It was quick. So it is a really scary thing when it does happen, but it is pretty rare, thankfully.
Right.
So
it is. And then was that the time when the flash floods happened? Is that when you got attacked by the water coolers?
The water that was a different day. Okay. Same trip, different day.
Now, just to clarify, so water coolers, metal heavy water coolers, are not on the top 10 list, but Derek did almost get killed by them. Can you quickly share that story again?
I believe it's 11 on the list. Okay. No, we were going down the Grand Canyon, Colorado River, and we were in some pretty high rapid areas. And so I thought to myself, well, I've usually sat in the front of the boat. Let me go sit back on the side of the boat by grandma. Right. That's safe back there.
Yeah.
So there was.
Well, this is your grandma that's been on the show.
No, different grandma. Okay. Yeah, different grandma. I know, shocking. I know, so many grandmas. So anyway, we hit a pretty huge bump, and I flew back. So the boat kind of I guess you could say, folded up. It was like a big inflatable boat, essentially. So I fell in between these two rows of all the food, all the drinks, all the coolers there. And so as I jumped in, I immediately jumped out. And as soon as I jumped out of that gap, the boat slapped together like that. And I would have lost an appendage or my head or something.
Because of water coolers.
Water coolers.
Yeah, Derek.
What a way to go.
Yeah.
If I went to water cooler, how did he die?
Yeah.
Water coolers.
Yeah. And again, not in the top 10, but still worth sharing for sure.
It's on the list, 11. Okay.
But good news about, last thing about flash floods, good news about that is that the people that did actually end up dying, simply ignored multiple signs like the flood was coming and just were not safe at all. So even people that are, if you're mildly concerned about it, you're probably not going to have this issue.
Yeah.
We say probably because we can't guarantee anything.
True. It's true.
All right. So that's number 9. What you got from number 8?
Number 8 is suicides. Ooh. We've all heard of this one. So they're especially common in national parks, but the victims usually tend to launch from, drive up cliffs or other accessible spots. And the backcountry suicides are much less frequent, and only usually a handful of those are reported annually. So if you're going out there and you're doing it, it sounds like, you have some intention behind it. I'm going to go find a spot where I can just launch my car somewhere crazy. And just,
or they drive there and then they launch.
Or they drive them.
Not very, yeah.
unfortunate in both ways. But
so how do you avoid suicide then, I guess, is the question. If we're trying to, save lives out there.
That's a whole nother podcast, though.
I got a solution.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Okay.
Listen to the podcast?
Yeah, kind of.
Because that'll make you laugh.
Right? I've got, you can join Patreon and
join Patreon. You can pay us some money and you won't commit suicide.
You have a built-in community to go backpacking with. And
That's
so
true.
If you feel lonely, you know what? The folks that go on the Patreon trips are very encouraging and awesome.
And let's be honest, like if I'm going to go commit suicide in the backcountry, that's just a bad way to do it because it's so much work to get out there. What a waste.
I don't want to make light of suicide, but I think that if you need community, we have a lot of folks that have either not gone backpacking before or they're new to it. And these Patreon trips are definitely easy ways in. So
true.
There you go. All right, that's number 8.
All right, number 7.
Seven. I actually got some thoughts on number 7. Number 7 is avalanches.
Oh, have you been in an avalanche? Barry?
Ooh, no, I haven't actually.
Not yet.
That's one thing that I haven't had issue with.
We can all hope.
They're still rare. I mean, avalanches happen all the time, but in terms of actually like hitting hikers or skiers or snowboarders, they're still pretty rare. But they're just highly unpredictable. But here's my thought on the avalanches is like you have the avalanche locator, like the beacon, right? And so if you and I actually gather and I get like buried and you're able to dig yourself out, like the beacon can help.
The beacon, right? It
can help you locate me. You can save my life, right?
If I want to, yeah.
But if you're going solo, like what's that going to do?
Would you need a beacon?
That's what I'm wondering. Is like by the time somebody gets there,
they're going to find you. They could find your dead body, I guess.
Yeah,
right.
But
seems like a waste, though.
So I just wonder.
If you're dead,
I haven't done a lot in avalanche zone. So for those of you that are more experienced, like if you're going solo, do you really need one? Because isn't it too late at that point?
Is it a safety net?
Is there a scenario where I guess you could like have a pocket of air and survive for a while? I don't know.
I always thought about that. Couldn't I just like dig a little hole?
Yeah. Create air.
I don't know.
Like just generate air in this space where there's no air.
Or could I just melt it if I had gas or like burped or, you could probably melt some snow.
Probably.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's
so
interesting. Avalanches. Okay.
We didn't really talk about how to avoid them. How do you avoid?
Don't go to the snow.
Never go backpacking in the wintertime.
That's interesting. How do you avoid avalanches?
Yeah.
Geez, that's a tricky. I mean, I guess. I don't know. What do you think? I think
you
see a lot of. I don't know, Carol. They say like loud. What do they say? Like loud noises can create an avalanche. Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you. Yeah.
How loud though? I don't know. Right. And then I don't know. I think just taking. Not sometimes like when you're approaching,
you're really struggling.
No, I'm trying to word it. Like if you're approaching like some type of mountain or whatever, and you see like a big patch of snow, like maybe don't take the most direct, obvious route. Maybe try and go like
go around.
Yeah,
go around the avalanche.
Exactly. Here's a parallel example. When I was in Antarctica, we were on a kayak. We were in kayaks.
Okay.
And off to the right, there were like these huge, like 100-foot shelves of ice. And we were out there and one of them broke off while we were in the kayaks. And it sounded like thunder, number one, but it created this huge wave or wake or whatever you want to call it. And so we were a good distance away, but we could tell they were going to come right at us. So we obviously were going to get out of the way. But the guy's like, make sure you guys, when you're kayaking, try to like not just go kayak right over all these huge cliffs and stuff, but maybe take some more indiscreet routes and stay near the land so you guys can avoid some of this stuff. But I don't know, just that mentality of maybe not going direct, but maybe kind of going around.
And you were in a kayak at that point?
I was in a kayak.
Okay, so had you,
but that wave could kill you because you're going to tip over and freeze in like seconds.
All right, so let's say that you were close to one of those, the ice shelves that were breaking off. Let's say you were too close, you weren't heeding his warning, and the wake was coming right at you. Would there be a scenario where your water cooler attacked you there?
Water cooler? No, Carl. Okay. That would not be fit or go with the story.
All right. So just to wrap it up, just to kind of put a bow on this one, your solution for how to avoid
what
the
was
avalanche.
Your solution for the avalanche?
No, I want to recap what you just said. Is to kayak away from the land.
That's not what I said at all. You're a great listener. You're the worst listener ever.
We talked about avalanches. You're talking about kayaking.
I'm talking about taking less discreet routes, like more not direct. Like, hey, you're the worst listener ever. How do you even handle? How do you get through life?
Oh my god!
How do you order at McDonald's? Right. Oh my gosh!
I don't order at McDonald's.
Exactly, because they can't handle you. So what's your solution?
I mean, there's times when if you're out in the snow, you're gonna get caught. But there's definitely intel where you look at where the dangerous avalanche zones are. You pay attention to the snow
Intel?
courts.
What's the intel?
Like websites. Like
So
going on to,
websites.
yeah.
So your answer is look at websites before. So weather
Yeah,
can't
they have
change before.
It can for sure.
Okay,
But
so
we went
great
on our
advice.
hut trips and we knew where the avalanche zones were, and so there was a hut. So we're gonna do like a hut to hut trip near Aspen, Colorado, but the avalanche changes were high, so we ended up just doing like going to the single hut and not connecting the dots there.
So you took a more discreet roundabout.
We kayaked away from the land.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Kayaked away from the land.
All right.
Take a roundabout way.
All right. So avalanches. All right. So that one.
That was painful.
Was that yours or was that?
That was yours.
Okay. What's
Hallelujah. Number 6, thank the Lord, is lightning.
Yes.
Going, we had like some experiences with lightning. We'll probably talk about that. But if you're going high in July, start early, and afternoon is always high voltage hour in many, many mountain ranges. So be aware of that. We had that trip. We had swords out. We had metal poles out. We had all kinds of
metal poles.
Not
camera slider.
That's right. Not wise things out during a huge lightning storm.
Right. We were exposed.
I think we were all a little. Some of us were concerned. Yeah. Some of us wanted to quit.
And we, meaning not Jarek or I, just to clarify, I was responsible
because you're afraid of nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The lightning. It's a good call. I actually do get a little concerned about the lightning. Because the most of I was concerned was actually not. You're talking about the trip in Yosemite where we were like there was no coverage. We were just on an exposed high above tree line zone.
Right.
But I was actually more concerned a couple of years before that when we were in Maroon Bells when we had to get up for the mountain pass and we were hitting that early afternoon time frame, and we had people that were struggling with elevation, like you specifically.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, can you go a little faster? And you're like, no, I can't. I can't go faster. I'm like, lightning's coming. And yeah, I didn't really have a good solution for that because we had to get up over the pass, but at the same time we were exposing ourselves to lightning. So that was probably, I thought that was more dangerous, to be honest.
Yeah. I think I said, bring it on, lightning. Let's go.
Yeah. So people typically plan their trips, like, doing the passes earlier in the morning or the, if you're peak bag and like that kind of thing. But yeah, it's number 6 on the list, man.
It's getting up there.
It's getting up there. And we had Justin Outdoors on a couple of years ago. He talked about how he almost got struck by lightning.
Yeah.
Where he got, or maybe like semi-struck. He had like his pants were burned, but he didn't have like a direct hit. I don't know what that means, but yeah.
Okay.
All right.
That's awkward.
Okay.
Number 5.
That is heat stress.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Read it. What do you got?
We're not going to read. We're not reading.
Well, tell me what you got.
Okay. Well, have you had it before?
I want to say I've approached some heat stress. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's more of an issue like in the South and the Southwest.
Yeah.
Where, you're getting dehydrated. You're not obviously drinking not only water, but electrolytes. And so people often confuse like heat stroke with heat exhaustion. Most people just get the heat exhaustion. But if you kind of succumb to those symptoms long enough, it can turn into a heat stroke.
Yeah.
And you could actually die from that. Yeah. So yeah, heat stress is big time.
No joke.
So how do you avoid that, Derek?
Stay hydrated.
Oh, wow.
Stay in the shade when possible.
Right. Okay. We had a guy who was suffering from heat stress, and he was an older guy. I want to say 70 years old. We talked about him, I don't know, a year ago. He was like we encountered him. He was like a different group's trip saboteur, and he was just, not hydrated, not doing this. He was like a doctor who couldn't figure this out. So,
it's so interesting too, because it's such a simple answer.
Yeah. Yeah. He was just somebody who just wasn't being careful. And so we had to save his life, and we did.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Not really. But anyway, that was number 5. What's number 4?
Number 4 is the opposite. It's good old hypothermia.
Hypothermia.
Exposure attacks, the mind and the body quickly. I think, you're going to get your dexterity and your decision-making is going to be impaired. So I remember end of the Antarctica trip, the guy's like, let's jump in the water with our dry suits on. Not that it matters, but
it doesn't matter.
It does. Yeah. So I went, well, I guess it does. We jumped in, and I think I immediately tried to jump out, and I could barely just even grab the kayak. It was so hard to do it because it's just instant.
Right.
So you don't really understand like the magnitude of how cold can really affect you and how quickly things can go south. But
but it's not just the body, like your mind, you start making bad decisions. You're like, I don't know, I can't decide. And you just like,
it physically affects your mind.
It's like you're numb, your mind becomes numb. It's just crazy.
But,
so how do you avoid hypothermia?
Why don't you tell us this time? What do you because you can get hypothermia. You can even get hypothermia in like tropical waters that are 80 degrees. You can still
because
get
the water is colder than your body temperature.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
if you're
It
in there
just takes
long
longer.
enough, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think so. You don't want to like fumble around with answers anymore, and so you're just like.
I think you're afraid and you're avoiding answers. So people want to hear from you as well.
You think that I'm not prepared?
You want to layer? What do you want me to just give you all the answers? You want to layer?
Layer's good. Yep.
Okay. What's your?
Well, if you want to introduce our new sponsor, the Vaucluse Cool Dry Frame, to keep the back sweat off your back, to keep that airflow going. You don't. I mean, the sweat kind of ties into layers, but the sweat on your body when you're not moving, that's going to cool your core temperature down
quickly
a lot.
Quickly.
So any way to stay dry.
Yeah.
And so we actually if you want to kind of dig deeper into the hypothermia thing, we actually kind of already covered this with our guest Marty Morissette from a couple weeks ago. So check that out. He kind of goes into the details on layering, but that's the big one right there. And just having obviously having changes of clothes and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
staying dry,
proper gear.
Right.
Yeah. So all right, that was number 4. Next up we have this one affects. I kind of lumped these two together, but the real number 3 is heart attacks. But I kind of lumped in altitude sickness as well, kind of like the health issues, because I think heart attacks is more for the older folks out there. That's more common. But the altitude sickness could be anybody. And so they said that at risk are baby boomer men who are trying to keep up with their younger selves. So just people who are not heeding the warning signs of like the stress of your body as you get higher or as you work harder in the mountains specifically. So
I heard chili mac with beef kind of contributes to altitude.
Having too much, it does.
It does. That's a fact.
So if you have chili mac with beef every single day, you lose friends and have heart attacks.
That's true.
Yeah.
Backpacker magazine proved it. Yeah,
that's right. Check it out at backpacker.com. So nice.
That's right.
So heart attacks. How do you stop a heart attack? What do you have for this one?
My left arm's a little. I don't know. No, thankfully, no. This is scary though. I mean, all these things can happen. Like up in the altitude is no joke. I mean, I've had altitude a couple of times when I was younger, and then a few years ago, right? And it's just debilitating. I think you just I felt kind of like that vertigo sensation, and I think if you don't listen to your body and you keep pushing, that's when things can happen. I know I just got to camp and I did like no camp chores. I know you'll say nothing new, but I went to the tent.
Wow, you're so defensive.
And I was like, I know I need to sleep if I'm going to get better.
Wait, when was this?
This was when was this? This was 4 years ago, something like that. I don't know.
All right,
whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, I went and laid down.
Okay.
And got some food.
I mean, really, you're supposed to go to lower elevation, but
we were coming down a mountain, so it was going to happen anyway. But
all right.
Yeah, I felt better the next day.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good. Well, good for me.
Yeah. I think we did a whole episode on altitude sickness, I think last year. So you check that one out as well. But those are things to definitely be more mindful of because it is number 3 on the list. So it
kind of comes out of nowhere too. Yeah. Like sometimes you don't really anticipate it happening. Right. So.
And the heart attacks is crazy because that's actually like more common than hypothermia.
Isn't that crazy?
You'd think that hypothermia, because I think people are afraid of being cold on a backpacking trip, right?
People eating way too much cheese and chili or something on the trail.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
All right.
Change the diet. All right. Number 2, drowning. What? Drowning. We're going to call it mishaps on the frozen lakes. Whitewater rivers represent the second most common cause of death in the wilderness. I mean, and this can happen, like we talked about this many times, like in a blink of an eye. Hey, I want to jump off this little ledge into this little, pool area, but I don't realize it's connected to a huge waterfall a few meters down or whatever, and it just sucks you over, and you don't understand the force of the water. So, how do you avoid that, girl? How do you avoid drowning? Other than your snorkel.
I mean, I think the key here is you look at the core, right? So the issue is people are falling through frozen lakes. So if it's early season or if it's, just the big, early winter, late winter, whatever, I don't know. You don't want to trust the ice. Like you got to be with somebody who's an expert that knows what they're doing, in terms of going out on the ice. That's one thing, but it's also a lot of people that are doing like the whitewater kayaking. This is all backcountry stuff. So I think if you're talking about like your average backpacker, I don't think that happens very often.
I would hope not.
Yeah, like you're talking like you're saying it's more likely you're swimming in a stream and get swept down. You're talking about.
I'll say this: I was in Yosemite. I want to say it was like late July, and there was some snow on the ground. The river was ankle high. And we were able to cross it, yes, but the rangers, which we've talked about ranger fun, but they were saying that 2 weeks before that the river was a lot higher. I want to say maybe calf to knee, and 2 or 3 people fell over the falls.
Yeah,
they were trying to walk through it. So you
Right.
really, I think that's maybe where it's most dangerous a lot of times, where you think you can cross, but you really don't understand the power of a river, and you get yourself in a real pickle. So
right.
and Carl here doesn't bring trekking poles, so that's a real problem. And he doesn't have me there with him. What's he going to do? So
Yeah.
I think
no, like to find a branch in a forest to use a trekking pole. Like, how's that possible?
I know it's really hard, but even though he still asks me for my trekking poles occasionally, so I think that's like one of those things we've talked about before. Like, if you're unsure or if you're not 100% sure, then go find a different way around the river. Even that might mean take a longer route, but it's obviously worth it. So,
or try to cross them earlier in the morning versus like later in the day when more snow is melted, so they're going to be higher. So there's that. But I think, in terms of like drowning in a lake, I don't think that's very common. I don't think people have to worry about that.
Like, do people fall through frozen lakes a lot?
I'm saying like a lake when like summertime backpackers swimming. Yeah, I didn't clarify that.
I mean, you could. I'll make this argument. Like, if you're doing cliff jumping, right? Let's say you find a cool cliff, and you can see through. Maybe it's really clear, but you jump in the water and you don't realize how cold it is. That could create a problem too. Because like I remember when I was jumping in after Knowlton at Thousand Lakes in Mammoth, it was
Thousand Lakes.
Was it Mammoth? Where were we?
Yeah, I just like your names, like your memory for names.
Thousand Lakes, Lake of a Thousand Lakes,
a lake,
Thousand
lakes,
Thousand Island Lake, Thousand Island Lake, Thousand Island. It was 1,000 something, whatever. I'm doing a 1,000-piece puzzle over here too.
Okay, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. I'm about 3/4 of the way done. Anyway, so I went and jumped after Knowlton, and man, it was cold. It was just like a piercing cold through my chest, and I was like, oh gosh, I'm out here in the middle of the lake, and like, what am I going to do? So
you're saying you could have died right there?
I mean, it was sunny too, but I don't know. I mean, thankfully it was like decent weather, but like I could see if it was like, if you're out in a situation like that, it's not sunny and you're by yourself and you try to do something like, adventurous or whatever, like I didn't understand how shocking it would be to my system. Now I feel like I'm a very seasoned swimmer, used to teach swimming and all that stuff, and it could take you by surprise real quick. So
100%, man.
I don't know. That's definitely a big one.
Well, sure. I just think about that scenario. That was a scenario where we had like a layover day. And so our buddy Knowlton decided to make a backcountry sailing boat. And that's what Doug was chasing after.
I wanted to tip him. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just think if you tipped him, then of course the cooler's going to fall out and land on your head. And then again
with the coolers. Again with the coolers.
You're risking your life with those coolers every single time. I don't know how you do it.
Oh, let to put you in a cooler.
What? Not on the list. Not on the list. All right. Okay. The number one way that you could possibly down the trail, most common backcountry.
Wait. Were you surprised this was number one or not?
No, but I'll tell you what I was surprised by is what's not on the list. We're going to talk about what's not on the list here in a moment. But no, I wasn't surprised because this seems obvious. It does. I don't know, with backpackers, it's falling, folks. It's falling. It's you're scrambling for a mountain peak. You're doing something that's class 4. You grab something that's slippery. You step on something that's slippery. You fall. I don't know. You're on a steep trail and you tumble off the edge. I don't know. But falling is the most common way that people die. And I guess technically I fell when I fell into the Yosemite Falls. I slipped on the rock and I slid into the waterfall zone. So that could have been me.
He had some Target shoes with bad traction too. So
Target
maybe
shoes, that's right.
You got to go back to REI.
I was barefoot, but sure.
Either way.
And so, so falling, in terms of how to avoid that, I think if you're somebody who's taking the risk and climbing like 14ers in Colorado or scrambling at peaks, you're the one that's most at risk. All right. So just taking proper precautions and using ropes where necessary. But for your average backpacker who aren't doing that, like this is probably not going to be an issue for you. So if anything, shouldn't people feel better about this? Like if they're like, oh, I'm not going to have a problem with that or that or that, I'm going to survive the trail.
I would think so.
Okay.
Are they just cocky like you?
Arrogant?
Yeah.
You're the one that said you weren't concerned about anything.
You told me you were unafraid of everything. I don't know.
I'm not afraid of anything, literally. Okay.
There you have it.
Let's talk about what's not on the list, because I think these are people's most common fears. The number one thing has to be predator attacks, right? Like
how is that?
By a bear, a mountain lion, like a rabbit.
Maybe that's
squirrel.
on like the most. Maybe that's on like the most feared list. Like, what do you think?
Like, what's that sound outside your tent? People are concerned about that.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's not. It's so uncommon. It's not even worth talking about. Like, like I actually looked this up. What if you were to get attacked by a predator? What is the most common predator death like in the backcountry?
Mosquitoes.
No,
Oh,
predator.
just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. I think I'm more afraid of the bugs than anything else.
Yeah. Well, they're on the list. That is not
Is
relating.
it like mountain lion?
That's what I would guess. Or bear, right?
Bear?
Grizzly bear? No. It's
marmot.
No.
Oh.
Alligator. It is. It's alligator.
East Coast. Watch out.
Yeah, Florida zone.
Okay, I can see that.
So that's not on the list. Another thing that's not on the list is human attacks. Because you hear about like a murder that happens in a national park every once in a while, but if you average it out over the years, it happens so infrequently, it's not even close to being in the top 10.
True.
So
that is true.
Don't be afraid of your fellow man. There's a good chance they're nice.
Except
for me.
Right.
Another thing people are afraid of, I think, is like, they over prepare with their gear. They have their survival kit. They have 3 sleeping pads. They have, 7 sleeping bags. They're like, well, what if this one gets wet?
7 sleeping bags.
I'm exaggerating, but you get the idea.
Wow.
They overpack because they want to hit every single scenario. So forgotten gear, I guess you make the case for hypothermia, but for the most part, yeah, calm down. Calm down, Derek, about the gear.
Calm down. Yeah. Leave the extra shoes at home, Derek.
Yeah. It's okay if you leave your sleeping pad at home. You can use peat moss, right?
If only that trailer didn't pop it out, Actually, it's a funny story. We're talking about trailers and things like that. I was on the freeway the other day.
Okay.
Behind an open bed work truck. And
with stuff inside?
Stuff inside.
Okay.
And out popped a bucket. Just flew right out.
Onto your car?
Right onto my car in the freeway.
Okay. Did it have a sleeping pad inside the bucket?
Interesting. It looked like a REA sleeping pad, actually. Problem solved? Things fly out of a more secure truck than a loosey-goosey trailer hitch thing that our Bill had.
You feel like a truck with an open bed is more secure than a trailer?
The trailer was like a rickety old wagon, basically.
Anything can fall out of a truck with an open bed. Goodness gracious.
Oh my gosh. I can't even handle it right now.
Put that tailgate up.
Point is, things fall out. Okay, here we go.
All right. So anyway, trying to put your fears to rest, and hopefully that did. And if you were trying to play along and guess the top 10 were, I bet you got a lot of them. So we also not on the list was trip saboteurs, somebody that causes other people's deaths. That wasn't on the list either.
True. Yeah. That would contribute, I would think, too.
Yeah. So all right, you got trivia again.
I got trivia.
Yeah.
Again. I'm going to get my cheater preventer barrier out here, I like to call it.
Let's do trivia right after this. All right, what's the name of your trivia you got this time?
We're going to do something a little different. We've been talking about death and negativity. So the trivia is not about negativity. It's about positivity.
I like it.
This will be a challenge for you. So we're going to see if you can handle these 3 questions. I think you might have already peeked at the answer since we're next to each other, but
oh my gosh,
we'll see what happens here.
Okay, so we got positivity trivia is brought to you by Vaucluse Gear. Do you have a lot of sweat equity in your backpack? If you have a soaked back when you hit camp, then it's time to find a better way. Create an airflow gap between your back and your pack with the Vaucluse Cool Dry Frame. Don't sweat the big stuff. Check out vauclusegear.com. All right, what you got?
Do it. All right, I got a couple true, false, and a multiple choice for you. Are you ready? All right, here we go.
I'm nervous.
You should be nervous. All right. True or false? Positive-minded people live longer, according to a nun study. A study by nuns.
It has to be true. It has to be true.
You sure? The final answer?
It's final answer.
It is true. It is true.
Why would that not be true?
I wanted to start easy.
Some of your questions are so impossible, and that's the one that you threw at me.
I wanted to see if I could fake you out. Apparently, you can live up to maybe 10 years longer if you have positive emotions and positive thoughts.
Okay.
I don't know how they figure that out.
Do you view yourself as being that guy? Are you generally positive with people?
Yes.
With the cashier at the grocery store?
Correct. Yes.
With the guy returning carts at Costco?
No, not him. But yeah, in general, yeah. Right. So I'm going to live longer than you. Number 2, true or false? Positivity increases shoulder strength. True or false?
I would say if it was shoulder endurance, maybe, but not shoulder strength. So false. False.
I'll give it to you. I think it is true, though, because I think the positive-minded attributes like strengthen you from the inside out. But we'll give it to you.
Okay.
One,
That's
two
so
for
nice
okay. And then last question is part of okay. Let me say part of the brain that's responsible for happiness. What is that called? Is it called the hypothalamus? Is it called the hippocampus? Is it called the cerebellum? Or is it called the chili mac with beef lobe?
The campus, hippocampus.
See, yeah, you got it right. That's good. Did you know that for sure?
I just recognize it vaguely, but
You recognized it. Wow, you do read books.
I mean, I've heard the other parts, especially the chili mac with one. That one's it's a serious.
That
part.
lobe is no joke.
That's no joke.
It's a no joke lobe.
It's a no joke.
It's no joke lobe.
No joke lobe.
3 for 3 back-to-back trivias. I mean, I have to make them harder. I'll throw in some grams for you next time.
All right,
and we'll make do with it. That's good.
Okay.
What do you with tidbits? You get some tidbits?
I got some tidbits. So I get 2. Keep shuffling around. Thank you. All right. So the first one is, I'm back out here in California with Derek. So in case you can't tell, for those that are on the audio app, it is lucky you.
Yes, I gave him a place to stay, everybody.
Yeah.
He's not a nomad.
Reluctantly, he did. But so anyway, on the way out from the airport's not super far away from your REI.
Correct.
So I swung by.
Did you?
Yeah.
And
I went to the Tustin REI.
Did you try to look for Chris?
You did.
You're so weird.
I did.
You're so weird. Did you find him?
I didn't find him. I found 4 people that worked in the department, and 3 of them asked if I needed help. I was really impressed with the customer service.
It's great out here.
It is great out here. And then I found one guy that kind of like fit the description, and he was helping somebody, so I kind of like awkwardly walked by him multiple times trying to look at his name tag, and I was like, that's not Chris.
Did you just ask, where's Chris? You didn't, did you?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, smart.
No,
he might have been there in the back. Why don't you just ask me where he is?
You know what? I'm flying out tomorrow. I'll swing back by.
Are we ever going to hear from that guy again, you think?
Well, it's up to us to invite him, and the fact that you live next to him and have done nothing.
No, we talked to him. Remember, he said like I'd be up for that, but he wasn't. It was a bad time.
It's up to us to circle back.
Okay.
Just to clarify what this story is all about for those that are new to the show, is that this is a guy that helped Derek years ago buy a backpack, and he suggested Derek buy a bigger pack. Derek said no, bought a day pack that he's been using ever since.
36 liter.
Derek's told the story about 15 times, and
20.
so I wanted to get the guy on the show to talk through this, but Derek has done little to nothing to help us out.
That's not true, folks. That's just not true, folks.
Well, how many times do you see when you go to REI? Like, how frequently?
How frequently do I go to REI?
I don't know.
It's like 40 minutes away from me.
Yeah, it's far.
Yeah, it's far.
So you go once a year, twice a year?
A couple times, 2-3 times a year.
So we're in season 6, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
So you figure you got your phone with you, just bust it
But
up.
we didn't start pursuing him until what, season 3?
Yeah. Okay. So 3 years. You've had 3
or 4
years
ish.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we finally tracked him down, and then he said, "This isn't like the best time for me." So I guess we could have circled back. We just kind of got busy with other things.
You live here. I don't live here.
I haven't seen him though.
Okay.
Since we asked him
for 3 years.
It wasn't 3. That's when the topic came up. I think it was like a year and a half or 2 ago. Okay. And then I didn't go on last year's trip. Right. So there you go. So no need to go to REI. So then here we are.
All right.
So this year I could probably go see him. You're welcome.
I got one more tidbit.
Okay.
All right. So our March Patreon episode is called Each Piece of Gear Should Have 2 Uses. It's time to bust that myth. All right. So that's actually a full episode that we were intending to release as a regular episode, and it just didn't work out that way with our scheduling.
Right.
This is a full-blown, awesome episode that our lovely Patreon subscribers are going to get, and we would encourage you to join the family. We would love to have you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right. That is all I got.
That's all I got. Guys, it's been a pleasure as always. If you need an ice chest to stick your buddy in, I got some tips for you. We'll see you next time.
I want to fly.